Hello everybody, welcome to Atlas Tabletop
Ginger
Gaming.
plastic. I couldn't help myself.
I'm not going to edit that out, I'm going to leave it in, that's staying in.
Oh dear, sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Okay.
I'll have to take a breath now.
Take a deep breath, breathe away. I can't help it. Okay, hello everybody, and as you might be aware of that little brief intro, this is Atlas Tabletop Gaming, and we are bringing to you another competitive podcast. 2,000 points. You know the score by now if you've listened to them before. We do 2,000 points. We pick an army. Tonight it is Adeptus Custodes. All three of us have a list ready to go. There are some similarities, as always, and there are some definite divinations or deviations of our lists, and we'll get through that when we get to the units. I have again with me Dale. Say hello, Dale.
Hello, everyone.
And Neil.
Hi.
Hi. So, yeah, we're gonna get to it. How is everybody doing tonight? You all okay?
Yeah, good mate, good.
Good. It's been a while since we've done these, and that's because I've been lazy, and I do apologise.
Dal's not answering already. He's blatantly trying to go Stilton.
Very stoic.
I'm just preparing myself like a member of the Custodes. I'm here. I've oiled myself up, and I'm ready.
What do you mean?
Wow.
Oiled yourself
What the
up?
fucking how
Mate,
dirty
you
are
need to read some
Custodes?
Custodes lore. That's what they do.
What, oil themselves up?
Mate, don't read the books. They're
It's like the same sort of. Dal, are you confusing the Custodes Codex to your dirty Paul Mags, mate?
It might be my fan fiction I've written about them, but either way, you know, they're all oiled up.
God.
We're ready to go.
We've got images of Dal in a bathtub oiling himself up, reading his Custodes Codex.
I mean, you don't need to mental image that. It's online. You can go and look at it.
Links in the description.
Yeah, links in the description to watch Dal in a bathtub.
Have you watched Family
naked.
Guy? Greased Up Deaf Guy?
Yes, it's a
that,
classic.
Is that what you're trying to say, Dale? That's what Custodes are, greased up deaf guys?
Mate, it's like, so obviously, you know, they're based on ancient Roman and Greek, you know, wrestlers, gods and all that sort of thing. They greased themselves up. They walked around naked. That's what they're based on. So, you know, I think there's reasons for it.
Is that why the Sisters of Silence and Sisters of Battle hang around with them so much?
Just hanging out with the greased up hunks that they want to jump into bed with, basically.
But they're not interested. They're only interested in each other and the Big E. So that's what they're
Big E. Not the Big D. This podcast has taken a turn already, hasn't it?
Well, you know, let's look at it this way. If the people are still listening now, that means there are sort of people, and they've got dark sense of humour, which is great, right?
Yeah, if you're still listening and laughing during this period, welcome to Atlas. You're welcome.
Okay, so shall we jump straight into it then? So Adeptus Custodes, I really like them. I when they were released back in 8th edition and I saw the bikes, I sort of like thought, oh Christ, I want to be a greased up bike guy as well. I brought in, well, Neil, you know,
is this going to be innuendos all night long?
Nothing but, I mean, it's the shortest codex in the, or one of the shortest codexes going. We've got to pad this out somehow. So we're going to do it with eroticism.
I picked up the codex earlier and I was like, I need to reread it because I haven't looked at Custodes in 9th edition. And I thought, fuck me, it is a very small codex. It's not like the Marine Codex, which has 400 pages of intercessors.
Strats.
Yeah. So there's not a lot of units in there. There's not a lot of guff as well. All the units in there I actually think are quite good and quite strong. So shall we go to our... No, somebody asked me the other week on the Craftwood one we did, can you put like bookmarks for the elites, fast attack and stuff like that? And I said that I'm too lazy for that. And I promise you I am too lazy to do something like that, so I'm not going to do it, but I just wanted to mention it anyway just to say I'm not going to do it.
And it's this sort of content that, you know, your listeners are there crying out for.
Exactly.
Just treat me badly, and you do. So
yeah, he is basically. It's like just as you ask him something, he's that dirty. He just spits on you like nah.
Obviously, we don't endorse spitting on people during a pandemic, just in
No.
case anyone from Bojo's administration.
Yeah, please remain socially distanced at all times and don't spit on people because that's not helping the R rate. Or in this case of the Custodes, the D rate.
Absolutely. It's it might be appropriate. I'm just saying, if you're in the same bubble together, what's wrong?
Now we've moved on to bubbles and Custodes. This is really going to start getting bad, isn't it?
Like Dale said, we've got to fill it because there's not a lot in here.
The podcast will be over in 12 minutes. People will probably be saying thank fuck. I mean, one of them was like an hour and 40, wasn't it? The guard one.
Yes. Yeah, and that went well as well, to be honest. People like that. So, guys, if you do like the channel, please like and subscribe and click that little notification bell. I've got to do the sort of promo stuff, boys, tonight just to get that out of the way, and I promise I'll only do it once more tonight. So let's go into Custodes, and so with the core book that came out in 8th edition, obviously they mentioned like the shield host that you could do and stuff, but they didn't give you any special rules for it, and that's where Psychic Awakening came in and gave you a load of special rules, some more stratagems, some more relics, some more traits, some other bits and pieces, which actually added some more flavour to them, would you say?
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Yep. So with that in mind, then I've gone for a battalion detachment. So not a patrol. A lot of people do a patrol because it's less HQ, so you can add more troops elsewhere, blah blah. But I went for the battalion, and I went for shield host as the dread host, and I'll explain that in a second. I just need to look at it and see what it does. I absolutely know what it does.
I was going to say, brilliant. You just sold your channel there. Let's go on about competitive flipping gaming, and you've made a list we don't even know what host is using.
It's to do with the warlord trait, and I'll explain it more when you sort of see my list and it sort of evaluates itself. So it's 1999 on the nose. I will put all the army list in the description or in the video as like a PowerPoint as we go through. I thought that worked quite well with the guard one last time, so I'll do that again. So anyway, I'm rambling. So my 2 HQs then, I went for a shield captain, and a shield captain on a Dawn Eagle jet bike, because I think with Custodes you kind of absolutely have to take one of those, especially if you go with bikes. You need the bikes, they're really really cool. I've also used the stratagem, so I spent the CP called Open the Votes, so get an extra relic because I want some relics in the army as well, because I think with Custodes they are the Emperor's bodyguard and they should have relics all over the place. So the reason why I took the shield host that I did is so that I can take the warlord trait or seeing annihilator, and I put that on my shield captain. And I will tell you what that does now. When resolve an attack made with a melee weapon by a model in a friendly dread host unit within 6 of this warlord, unmodified rolls of 6 score 1 additional hit. I just think that's quite strong to be able to have more hits when you roll 6s, especially with the lucky dice that I have. I've armed him with, as we all know.
That just made me choke.
Famously dice.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you say lucky dice, is it the ones that you're absolutely awful of rolling with, or your weighted ones that you bring off every now and again to make sure your Templars actually win a game?
It's definitely the weighted ones, boys. Definitely
okay, fair one.
Yep. I've given him a Sentinel Blade, a Storm Shield, and I believe it's a relic, the Remnant of Sorrows, which is that roll a d6 each time a unit, biker or an infantry unit destroyed within 6 of the bearer. Before removing the model as a casualty on a 4-up, that model musters 1 last surge so it can fight and shoot again and stuff like that. Again, I think that's quite cool. That's one HQ choice, and then the next one is the shield captain on the Dawn Eagle bike. So obviously if you take a captain on a bike, you have to take Eagle's Eye. Would you agree on that, boys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
it shows up in mine as well.
Yep. I've made him a captain commander, which is 1 command point. which allows him to have another trait. Let me just look into it. Sorry, I'm reading from Battlescribe. Champion of the Imperium, so he gets a spend another CP to give him Warlord trait as well. Friendly Custode Bikers and Dreadnought units that are within 12 of your Warlord at the start of the charge phase can make heroic interventions this phase as the same manner as a character, and that becomes prevalent why I've done that further on in my list. So swift as an eagle, add 1 to the advance and charge rolls made by this model, and add 1 to the move characteristics of this model as well, so he gets a 15-inch move, which is quite nice. God, they have so many rules, don't they? Special rules that you have to remember. And I've given.
They are quite fiddly when their HQ choices are. Yeah. You can equip quite a lot when it comes to the additional Warlord traits and other bits and pieces to buff them. I think they can be quite tricky at times, especially for a tiny little army as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you were a newbie and it was the first army you brought, I wouldn't recommend Custodes. I don't think it's a first-time army.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because they turn around and say it's one of the best ones to get into because obviously it's a small model count, but at the same time, they do rely on all their buffs because they're so small. They're obviously hugely resilient, but they do rely on all their buffs and their strats things to keep them alive and to buff them up as well. So you do need to be able to sit there and rehearse and verse that army quite well and all the different strats to make sure you know what you're doing with it, because otherwise, like you said, you can end up struggling, I think.
Well, if you lose a unit, it's expensive.
Oh yeah, if you lose a model, it's expensive, let alone a unit.
Like, Christ, I've just lost a 250 point HQ. Oh my god.
Hyperventilating.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. So I've given him a salvo launcher because I do like them. I think Hurricane Bolters are really cool, but you'll see as my list goes on why I've given him a salvo launcher, because I haven't got a lot of anti-tank apart from in combat. So the salvo launcher, just to give him that melter bomb or that anti-air missile. So those are my 2 HQs, guys. What do you reckon?
Go on, Dal.
I mean, there's not exactly many to pick from, is there?
No.
I mean, there's 5 options, and one of them's a black library model. So, you've picked 2 of them.
Well done.
There's the 2 I've picked as well. There's not much to do.
No.
You didn't go into your host, though, Carl. You didn't explain your host, Dread host.
No, it was just for the Warlord trait, the All-Seeing Annihilator, which is basically like I said, any 6s in combat adds an additional hit within 6 inches of the model.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, so shall I go next?
Yeah,
go, mate. Yeah.
Okay, so I've gone for a battalion detachment as well. Okay, for a fairly troop-heavy list as far as Custodes go, and I think mine is going to be a little bit different in terms of theme than what Karl in particular has gone for. So my shield host is the Emissaries Imperatus. The reason I've gone for that actually is for their stratagem, which is going to come up later, so I'll go into it then, but that's the main reason I've picked them, because they give kind of a very strong stratagem for my list. I've gone also for a shield captain and a shield captain on Dawn Eagle jet bike. So my normal shield captain is not my warlord. He's got a sentinel blade and a storm shield, and he is very much there as a reroll bubble giver for other units in the list. My warlord is my shield captain on Dawn Eagle jet bike. He has got hurricane bolters. I've made sure to give him a misericordia as well. So try and get an extra attack on him, just trying to use up some points and everything as well. Now for his relic, I have given him the Auric Aquilus. So that gives him a 3-up invuln, and he can reroll failed charge as well. So I'm quite a fan of that one. Then for his warlord trait, I have given him Indomitable Warrior, which seems to have disappeared from my thing altogether, which is really helpful.
Yeah, you gotta love Battlescribe.
Oh, mate, it's brilliant, isn't it?
Are you using Battlescribe or the new Games Workshop one?
I'm absolutely using Battlescribe. That's because I forgot to tick. I've made him a Captain Commander as well, for 1 CP. So the Captain Commander means that he gets an extra attack, I believe. I'm going to have to double check that. That's why I couldn't find it. But different warlord traits to pick from. So I gave him Indomitable Warrior from that. and that's disappeared as well. You know what? Screw it. Battlescribe shit. I'm just gonna make it up. I'm gonna make up my own rules. You can do whatever.
Brilliant. That's a shout and a claim and a half. Battlescribe has just been called out there.
Yeah. Indomitable Constitution. That's what it's called. So Indomitable Constitution. So that means he adds 2 to his wound characteristics. All right. So he moves from 5 wounds up to 7 wounds, which along with the 3 up invul is designed to just very much keep him safe.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. It's good that we had the same HQs and nobody took the piss out of my HQ, so I'm quite happy tonight. Yay!
Yeah, I mean it'll be the only units you pick that aren't going to be ripped to shreds.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably highly likely what they said, to be honest with you. I'm guarantee that you'll find some absolutely obsolete wank unit within that tiny little codex that you'll put in there and try and justify the fact they're strong, and it'll be like, no, Karl, they're really not. They're terrible.
But I'll try.
But I love you anyway. I love you anyway.
I like to play my Warhammer 40k on hard mode and not easy mode like you two. So Neil, again, I agree, Dale. Fantastic HQ choices. It's the same as what I've chosen, apart from the Warlord traits and the Shield Host. But we all have our own reasons for that. So Neil,
yes,
what you got, brother?
So I'm running a patrol detachment. The reasoning behind it obviously will come a little bit more apparent. Troop choices to me aren't. I know it can go down. Obviously, troop choices are important, but for me, I wanted to move into other areas, and this has been tried and tested. I've played Custodes lists a few times recently. And I like this lineup, to be honest with you, the way I play them, and I have a set way of playing them. So patrol forms into it a little bit more because I get to save potentially a little bit of slots and points on my troops and get to allocate them elsewhere. So I'm running it like Karl, like Dread Host. So we've got the same Shield Host again. My 2 HQ choices are 2 Shield Captain on Dawn Eagle jet bikes. So I've just gone for the 2 guys on the jet bikes, mainly because I've used them before, like I said, and these guys are literally, I think, brutal when they're used correctly. My Warlord version of one of them. The first one, my Warlord, he's got the Indomitable Constitution, like Dal had, to add the 2 wounds to it as well. He also has Superior Creation as well. That's added onto there as well. So on a D6, on D6, 5 up, your Warlord does not lose that wound. I've also added onto the Warlord himself. Where am I? I'm losing it now because mine's just scrolling on. There you go. So what I've covered through. So the Superior Creation that I've gone through. Where am I? Yeah, Superior Creation, Indomitable Constitution, Inspirational Fighter. You got reroll hits once, which is Standal, and I've got the Auric Aquilus as well. So the mod was a 3-up invuln save. So basically, this guy's completing that tank. So he's a 2-up save, 3-up invuln, and a 5-up shrug as well of wounds as well. His movement, his weapon, I've just kept him Hurricane Bolters. I keep Hurricane Bolters pretty much on all of my bikes just because of weight of shots. I've got anti-tank elsewhere, which we'll see on my list. So these basically are my horde killers and thin the chaff out. But yeah, that guy's an absolute, like I said, monster, to be honest with you. And the other Shield Captain on Dawn Eagle jet bike, relatively similar, to be honest with you. I've just paid the extra to have the extra relic and gone Eagle's Eye, like Karl had on one of his as well, which gives the 3-up as well. He's also got the Indomitable. I keep forgetting, was it Indomitable Constitution, which had 2 wounds. So both of them have technically now got the 3-up invuln and 2 additional wounds as well. So they're just really 2 hard-hitting, fast-moving, tough to budge off the board captains flying about everywhere. I use them and I like them. Just one of the simple facts is that if I need to peel off, if I need to go objective grabbing, if I need to sit there and pull out and I don't know, heroic intervention. If it just gives me those 2 long distance, long range reaching captains to get around the board and snatch things and use things. And to be fair, they've a lot of games actually. They've been my heroes. They really have come in quite handy and probably snatched a few points from me when I've needed them. To be honest with you. So yeah, that's my 2 HQ choices.
I mean, they're very solid, aren't they? The captains on the bikes,
Oh.
you got that movement. And although shield captains in their own right, if you're doing lots of troops like me and Dale are doing, having a shield captain walking about with them actually is quite helpful as well. But if you're going bike heavy, then actually having two on bikes is very, very strong.
Which you'll see with my list. Like I said, I've gone lighter on troops, so I agree with you. The shield captains are very strong, but for me, that manoeuvre, again, we'll harp on it. We have done in all the other podcasts, but being able to shift with their level of movement across the board, potentially to either get line breaker, snatch an objective, hit a unit, tie a unit up, charge. I just think they're amazing units for me personally. Yeah, I really, really love them. Really, really love them, to be honest.
And when you look through, I know we're going to go off on a little bit of a tangent, but when you look through the Custode Codex, every model is what every other army's character is, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So like all your basic troops, if you're a guardsman, you'd love one of those as your HQ. If you're a space marine captain, you'd be like, you're looking at Custode Guardian and go, I want to be one of those guys. It's incredible the strength, and 9th edition they've become really, really strong, whereas in 8th they were okay. They lack of models didn't help, whereas 9th edition, I think the missions absolutely benefit Custodes in a very favourable way, because it's just basically taking hold, and what Custodes very good at doing, taking and holding.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
It's really benefited them, which is great. I've got quite a large Custode army. I know Neil's got building one now, and I think I've got some of Dale's that he gave to Sam that Sam gave to me. Which
the normal way my models end up going. So yeah.
Which is the normal way. This is the way. Okay, so I think as HQs, I think you can't go wrong with the HQ choices in the Custode book. Nobody took the Captain General Trajan Volaris. He's quite badass, though, isn't he?
He is, and again, but the thing is for me, so that my list that I was tempted for, so this is my fast, hard-hitting list, but the other one, I think if you're going to go again, troop choices, and potentially put Trajan in there with a lot of custodian guards, so he can buff them, re-roll them, and be one stubborn, because him jumping in, because he's got a special bit, he can jump heroically, intervene quite distance, he can really charge in and hit hard, but for me he just doesn't fit into the style of my list. But yeah, I think he's my only other valid real troop choice. I think if I'm going to go mainly guard list, I'll go Trajan and a shield captain, normal shield captain, whereas if I'm going for this list, which I have done, then it's my two Dawn Eagle shield captains as such. So but yeah, Trajan's he's a tank as well, he's quite beasty.
My thinking on it is it's very much so he's a great model in terms of that. However, his points just don't quite stack up for him. I don't think he gives you an extra 80 points worth of stuff compared with a normal shield captain, except for his own fighting ability, which is great, but he's only one model. He's still standing out. He's still only 7 wounds. It doesn't do enough for me. I think if for those points you've got a shield captain on jet bike for less points than that. I don't think he's really that great. I think his points are a little bit out now in 9th.
Maybe the new codex will see a little bit reduction, but he is strength 10 in combat. That's strong.
Yeah, no, I don't really. I think he's quite tanky, but he's also ploddy.
He's movement 6. He's not getting anywhere fast. You
say ploddy, but you're speaking to a Death Guard player here. Movement 6, I'd kill for that.
Yeah. The thing is, don't get me wrong. Don't get normal Marines generally moving around. Some guy walking around in a huge gold suit. He's probably doing quite well to shift 6 inches a turn. But like I said, for me, being able to sit there and shift across. Like my Dawn Eagles, I think it's like I said, it's personal playing preferences and styles and choice. And for me, like I said, he's my other variant, and I do believe he's massively he's one of those choices, Trajan. I think he's really, really useful. If you can stick him either backfield on an objective with a guard squad, or potentially a few other units, what we might well talk about. his reroll abilities and the way he is as a tank, I think he's definitely valid 100%. I just think, like as Dale said, for the points as such, it's a little bit of a lump at times. But hey,
Okay.
we'll see.
Shall we move on to the troops choices?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's keep it rolling, guys. Keep it rolling.
Mine's easy.
So, I have gone for 3 custodian guard units. Unit of 5, 3 of them with a guardian spear, and 2 of them with a sentinel blade and storm shield times 3. That's it. 239 points each. It's an expensive unit, but I really like it. You can move forward with that storm shield as a little bit of a barrier to hold them off as best as you can, and then move forward and start shooting and stabbing people. So there's a reason why I've taken a lot of troops, which you'll find out in the elite choices. But primarily what I was thinking is maybe the 3 units or the 2 units walking about with the shield captain, wrecking face throughout the game. That's it. Nice and simple.
I think they're brilliant at holding objectives with the shields now.
Yeah.
They are absolutely so difficult for most to shift now because they're already the higher toughness, and then you've got the normal save, but now you've got the invuln as well, which takes them, because of how the storm shields now work. They're even better than they used to be at this. If you get those onto an objective, that is a real struggle to get them off. Struggle to get them off. I'm going to ask though, because you've given some of them guardian spears, some of them have gone for the shields and the swords as well. What do you think the benefit of the shields are? The spears are, because I don't really see them being that useful anymore. If we're talking about a take and hold unit, I don't know why you wouldn't go for all of them with shields just to make it almost impossible to shift that unit.
So you're right, but you limit yourself to only a range 12 weapon. So obviously Custodes struggle with a bit of ranged weaponry, so you put 3 spears in it. You've got range 24, so all an enemy unit has to be is 13 inches away, and your sentinel blade shooting is useless. So 24 inch range, strength 4, AP 1, damage 2. That's good at killing marines. So I just wanted a little bit more shooty, and I like stabby spears.
Stabby spears, is that a technical term?
It's an absolute technical term, look at that.
You can see the flipping orc, flipping Templar, flipping rompy stompy man's coming back again, isn't he?
Paint himself green, start shouting why.
Don't insult me. I've never owned an orc army. I've killed many an orc army, never owned.
No. It's in the cupboard. You're just waiting for it to get popular like the other armies and try and bring it out and play like you're a cool kid.
Hey,
we all know the way you roll.
I've been an orc player since 4th. What? No.
Oh, God.
Don't. No. Right. Okay. Dale.
So I've gone a very different. I think the troops bit is actually probably where we're going to see the difference between the army structures between me and you. So I've not put any custodian guard squads in there at all. I've gone for 3 squads of Sagittarum custodians. I really, just an FYI, by the way, if you want to.
Here you go, sucker for the posh words again, isn't he?
You absolutely need to have gone to public school, don't you? If you're going to say custodian properly, it's impossible for anyone else. Us scum have got no chance. So I've gone for 3 of those: 1 unit of 5, 1 unit of 4, 1 unit of 3. All with Misericordias, except for 1 because I ran out of points. Okay. Reason for this is real simple. So it's a similar idea to Karl in terms of take and hold objectives. However, what I've gone with is, instead of trying to give us a 3-up invuln and a 1+ normal save, I've gone for having a bit more range firepower. You're quite right, Karl. It's a big area where custodians really, really, really struggle. It's that range firepower. Now, they've all got Adrastus bolt calivers, whatever.
Say that again.
No, I'm never saying it again. So this
podcast started off really, really badly. When you start dragging it through the gutter again, when you're asking Dale to talk dirty to him down a microphone, Karl, come on.
Go on, Dale, speak Latin to me. Go on.
You dirty public school boy, you.
Not even a public school boy, who knew? So they're kind of like a combi weapon. You've got 2 weapon profiles. You can either choose 1, assault 3, strength 5, -1, 2 damage. It's a heavy bolter. It's 36-inch range. There's also the disintegration beam, assault 1, strength 5, -3, 3 damage, only got a 15-inch range. You can fire both of them instead if you want to, but -1 on your hit roll. Now, your Custodes, you're hitting on 2s. By firing in both, you're still only firing on 3, so you've actually got the benefit of both a heavy bolter and another weapon as well across the unit. Still a 2-up, still a 4-up invuln. And then this is probably where the shield captain would be spending his time, is with these units, give them those reroll ones. It's just a real way of taking those objectives on the center of the board and just dominating anything that tries to get. They've all got Misericordias, so if anyone does charge them or get close enough, they're going to countercharge. Yes, they've not got the spears, but there's still 4 attacks each because the Misericordias, strength 5, -2, 1 damage apiece. With the shield captain nearby as well. So just for holding those objectives, really strong. Really, really strong.
Go on.
It's also why I took the Emissaries Imperatus. So what this one does is 1 CP, and it means you've got until the end of the phase, when resolving an attack made by a modernate unit, ignore any negative hit roll, wound roll, and armor penetration characteristic modifiers, and any benefit to the saving roll as a result of cover for that attack. So because they're great shooting already, it just wipes out those negatives and makes it just a pure upside unit.
They are really, really strong. I've actually played against them down the club with my Death Guard, and they were really hard to shift. I mean, like, flipping ridiculously hard to shift, but I did it because plague cast crawlers are really, really good. But yeah, they are a tough unit to face, and you got 3 units of them.
3 units of them.
Yeah.
You're 1 of 5, 1 of 4, 1 of 3. So 3 on the backfield, the 5 and the 4 moving forward and taking the midboard.
Yeah, and again, they're assault weapons as well, so they can move and shoot without penalty. The only penalty you have is with that heavy version, isn't it? With the 15.
It's not a heavy, it's still assault.
Okay, so you don't get any minuses to hit, so you're still hitting on 2s.
No, so what you're really probably going to do, it'd be 3 if you fired both of them. But, turn 1, you'd probably just accept that you're only going to be enraged the longer one. You'll advance and therefore hit on 3s. Probably re-rolling 1s if you've got your captain nearby. So, that kind of negates that short 6-inch range as well, and still able to punch out. In a marine heavy meta, heavy bolters are fantastic.
Yep.
You've got an entire unit carrying them.
Nasty stuff, Dale. Nasty stuff.
As always.
What do you reckon, Neil?
I generally think I like them, to be honest with you. This is one of the areas, to be honest with you, for me, that I think Custodes Codex does quite well. Most of its troop choices are very, very strong. I don't think any of them particularly are very weak. I don't think every single one of them are really stubborn, really hard to get rid of, and they all have they're great combat units, and shooting wise, they mix it up a little bit. What Dalsgon has got more teeth in the shooting department rather than going for standard, obviously, guard squads. But yeah, I think they're really, really strong, to be honest. This is another area, a lot like the headquarters. I don't think you can really go far wrong with anything you pick, to be honest with you. I think you could probably say that about the whole codex, to be honest with you. I think they're all in a strong place. But
the codex has got land raiders in it, mate. You can definitely go wrong.
Oh yeah, okay, all right. Apologies, I'll wash my mouth out. Yeah, apart from a land raider painted gold, then that looks ridiculous. Yeah,
who doesn't want a land raider painted gold as their centerpiece in their army? Come on, what else is there? What other tanks do Custodes have other than a...
The only people that would have a gold land raider are the same people that shout "Wah" really loudly as well, if they ever were to collect Marines. So, or maybe Black Templar players. I don't know, Carl. Maybe we'll check your cupboard when we get round next time.
Neil, can I just confirm that you're saying people that eat crayons shouldn't play with Custodes?
No, because if that was the case, I probably should start selling those models then, to be honest with you. I probably want to put the models down then, as well as the crayons.
Start chewing.
Yeah, I was going to say, to be fair, yeah. No, but I like what Dal's done, to be honest with you. I think it's different, and at the same time, I think it's got teeth, to be honest with you. Like I said, it's not the obvious, but at the same time, I think if you looked into the codex and potentially some of the strats that could be used to buff them, I think it's fantastic. And like I said, having those 3 units gives you that unit to do backfield sort of just sitting on and screening out some areas for potential deep strike or any other units coming into your deployment zone. And then the 4 and the 5 gives you a chance then to potentially field out further, pick a couple of units off, or potentially go and grab up or team up an objective and maybe hit the centre field objective or something that you do need. So yeah, I think it's strong, to be honest with you. Really, really strong.
Yeah, no, wise words from a wise man. Okay, Neil, what troop choice have you got?
I got one squad of 3 custodian guards with storm shield. That's it. And that is me. I will mic drop and walk off onto an next choice.
Done.
You cannot go wrong with that. Absolutely cannot go wrong with that.
No.
I mean, to be honest with you, like I said, I have 2 custodies lists that I like to run without going down the meta route and going down tanks list that obviously I was speaking to Dale about before that he used in the tournament to win, where you start integrating it with sisters and battle and other bits and pieces. If it's going pure strain guard, I've got a stubborn list that I generally use, a lot of custodian guard units, all storm shields, Trajans, shield captain, and a couple of other bits, and just really be an obnoxious, horrible digging army. It's sort of say, come at me. And I'm just going to sit here and bleed the life out of you to try and shift me off objectives. And at the same time, I'll go for things like domination and other bits and pieces, and I'll just wait for you to come a little bit closer and sort of countercharge you and things like that. Or I've got this list which I thought would be a bit different to use, which I have used before, and I have had a couple of wins from using it as well. The 1 custodian guard squad is my flexibility. It's either a backfield, again holding with the storm shields as well. They are, even though there's 3 of them, they are still obnoxious. They're still difficult to shift. You have to put firepower into them to get them moving off. So yeah, they'll either hold on to that backfield objective, or I can shuffle them up onto a nearby objective and then put them on there to camp out. They're still a guard squad. They still have to be watched. They're still difficult to move, and that's it. But for me in a patrol detachment, my points are utilised elsewhere that you'll see further down the list. So yeah, a lot of people will be screaming saying, why are you only bringing 1 guard squad? Yeah, I know I usually potentially can bring up to 3, 4, 5 guard squads, to be honest with you, with storm shields. They are unbelievably stubborn to sit there and shift. However, it doesn't fit this style and purpose of my list, and when I get on to potentially other choices, it will start unravelling how my style of play with this list works, sort of thing.
I mean, it's still 15 wounds that you got to chew through as a unit. They're all -1 armor save, aren't they, with the storm shields? They get that. That's their a 1-up armor save effectively. They're a 3-up invuln. You can stick them in light cover, and they get that. Do they get the other bonus as well for the armor save if you stick them in light cover as well?
What's that? Sorry, say that again,
So,
mate.
like,
Cut out a little bit.
When you stick them into light cover, do they still get the buff to the armor save as well? So they go effectively. And so you can stick them in cover on an objective at 0+ armor save. Obviously -1, ones always fail, but it just makes them that little bit harder to shift. For the amount of points, they're really, really good. So before we go on to the next sort of force organisation point, I've got a theory, boys, right, about custodes.
Oh God!
Right, so
here it comes, Dale. This is what we've been waiting for. Karl's manic moment where he has a little spark in that massive ginger sort of Hagrid head of his.
So Rebute Gulliman, did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes.
Fucking hell, Gulliman. So
the big RG.
The big RG. When he was awoken by the Elder to come back and fight for the Imperium or whatever the fucking bullshit story is, he said to the Custodes, "Go out and fight." Yeah, that's what he said. That's why we have a Custodes army. That's how GW sold it. Gulliman has said, go. He's going to tell the Custodes, look, your job is over. You no longer need to protect him. Go out and fight. Think about it. He created the Codex and made Space Marine legions weak. He's then told the Emperor's guardians, bodyguards, to fuck off and fight and leave the Big E back home almost defenceless, apart from the Imperial fists in the phalanx. Cheers, guys. Is Gurleyman a traitor? Because
have you actually ever read any of the books?
I was elected to lead, not read.
Yeah, fine. That's what I thought. So, first and foremost, the Imperial fists in the current lore are absolutely nearly wiped out. The phalanx is like a wreck floating above Terra.
No, only a little bit of it's destroyed.
And they just got fucked up by the Moloch and the what they called Minotaurs on Terra. So that went well for them. They're not relevant.
How'd that go, guys?
Absolutely not relevant at all. And then, the vast majority of the Custodes are still based on Terra, mate. They haven't gone anywhere.
Because they don't trust the bloke.
Watchers of the Throne series of books, honestly, very good.
Yeah,
very good indeed. You should do them.
He's told the Black Templars to stop crusading and come back. What's that all about?
That's because they're orcs. We've been through this.
So, all I'm saying, right, is during the Horus Heresy, instead of Ultramarines coming and fighting, they decided to secure their own little piece of the pie action. Do you know what I mean? Over there in the Ultramar, they thought, hey, we'll just make this a little bit of our own. We'll just run it and organise it.
Can I just add one thing? They're Ultramarines. They're fucking the good boys of the Marine world.
Are they though?
They're idiots, mate. They're boring. They wear their Smurfs just wear blue armor. They prance around, giving it. Oh, we're like Romans in our new armor and our blue. Oh, aren't we great?
Look at my
No,
tassels.
You're actually pretty dull. Go away, mate.
Why are we talking about them? Like, we're here to talk about the oiled up gold dudes. Ultramarines just not featuring something.
I had a theory and I just wanted to share it with you. That's all.
I'm just going to point out your theory's bullshit.
No, Gurleyman is a bad guy. He's a bad guy because he's good, and that's the problem. You can't trust that. Do you know what I mean? You just can't trust it. He's got a scheme. He's got a scheme, boys. I promise you. Him and Horus, best friends. Trust me. Right. Shall we move on? What are you laughing at?
Like we said, we had to pad this podcast out, ladies and gentlemen. So we apologise for the drifting off subject.
Should we go on to Elite?
Yeah, go
guys,
for it.
If you want any more just terrible opinions, just unsubstantiated thoughts, like and subscribe, please.
I love subscribe. That's what we're talking about, boys and girls. Okay, so I've gone for 3 Elite choices. So my first one, I do apologise for the pronunciation, Hilarious Custodians.
Alaris.
Exactly, it's the West Country of me. So...
You're so Gloucester sometimes.
Yeah, did you say that with your brother touching you up?
Yeah, the broom handle in my bum. Okay.
Dear.
I think they're really, really awesome. I love the models, although I don't like top knots. And unfortunately, as a custode army, I've got a unit of 3 of them everywhere. I think they're really, really cool. I like the axes. I like the grenade launchers. I like the fact that I can deep strike them as well. They're not actually an expensive unit. They do have that extra wound, strength 5, which is quite nice. The axe is +3, so strength 8 in combat, -2. I think they're just one of those units that you would probably hold back in reserve and deploy them when you need them in a game. So like after turn 1, you wouldn't want to hold them and then drop them in turn 1 in your deployment turn. You want to bring them in turn 2 and 3 and try and take an objective, hold an objective, or just wreck shit up. Because I actually think they're very good at doing that, and I've used them before and I've had absolutely no complaints. So my next one, again, I excuse the pronunciation, Vexillas Praetor, is that right?
Vexilla Praetor.
Yep. So I've gone for 2 of those. One with the banner that adds +1 attack characteristics to units within 6, and one of the others with the -1 to hit. Because what says fuck you more than having a really, really durable unit that's hard to shift anyway, and then also making a -1 to hit?
No, totally agree.
That's my Elite choices. Nothing really sort of special. They come with what they come. I've put the Misericordias on both of them as well, and obviously on the Custodians as well. They've got the Misericordias as well. And the plan in my mind is to move up with the Guardian squads with the Banner Boys, giving them +1 attack and the -1 to hit them. Thoughts?
Like it.
Yeah,
it's always a positive one. We'll go through Vexillas in a minute, but they're very powerful indeed. You really cannot go wrong. And the Alaris Custodes, I mean, they are very, very good. Very, very good indeed. They've just got so much going for them, and the support they get from the stratagems as well. is brilliant.
Yeah. I did. But my favourite I don't know. I think between a unit we're going to talk about very shortly and these guys, to be honest with you, they're my favourites. I've used them in every single game. They're my go-to unit, to be honest with you. So, I mean, I'll talk about them again in my list in a minute, but I love them. I think they're flipping superb. And I agree with you as well. The models are absolutely superb as well, especially with the axes. They look absolute badass, sort of
You wouldn't fuck
deep
with them,
striking
would
down the
you?
box field. Yeah, big, and they are big ass little units as such. Just dropping down with a huge ass axe coming in to smash the gaff up. So yeah, I'm a big fan, to be honest with you.
I mean,
Big fan.
you might only want to take 3 of them, and you think, oh, there's only 3 in that unit. But actually, there's 12 wounds in that unit that you have to chew through, and they are toughness 5, and they do get the 4 up in Vern and the 2 up armor save. Yeah, I like them. I think they're really, really good. Dale, talk to me.
But before you carry on, just with the Alaris, by the way, so I've not got any in mind, but my absolute favourite thing to do with is unleash the lions. So just drop them in 2 CP, movement stage, and they all become a separate unit, and it just messes up people's shooting, charging, everything so much. And we talked earlier about a normal Custodes is equivalent to another army's characters,
yeah.
And it is. You've then got however many you took, a load of characters on there, and it just messes things up so much.
I think another one of their massive plus points as well is obviously if you've got the Vexilla around, you can drop them 3 inches down within the Vexilla range as well, and that includes enemy range as well. So you can deep strike Alaris in a non-fallible charge. Or within 3 inches of a Vexilla, but obviously within charge range. So you move your Vexilla up the field and you can move it. In fact, is it you can drop them within 3 inches of an enemy still?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know whether you can in Ninth.
Because you can do that with Grey Knights, can't you? With that stratagem, but you can't charge.
I'm going to have a really good scan through now, because I swear it's with the Vexilla. There's a stratagem that basically you can deep strike them in, and you can basically bring them within 3 inches of a Vexilla, and they could be as well as 3 inches within the enemy as well. So it's basically you shunt your Vexilla and run him up the field as quick as possible, get him into combat and run something that you need him in, and then basically boom, deep striking your Alaris bomb straight on top of them. I swear that's a thing because I've used it before. I'll have to have a quick scan through.
So use this strategy at the end of movement phase. When you set up a teleporting Adeptus Custodes units at the end of the phase, you can set it up wholly within 6 inches of a friendly Vexilla's Praetor, other than one that was set up in this turn, and more than 3 inches away from enemy models.
Yeah.
Any models that cannot be set up this way are destroyed. So yeah, as long as you could advance up, it just kind of circumvents the normal deep strike rules.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what I think I was going to shift on. So yeah, that's my biggest thing about the Alaris, because I've used it in previous that literally they don't come down turn 2, potentially it's like turn 3, turn 4 bomb, where you've given your Vexilla a chance that he's going to pretty much be moving and advancing up the table. So he's at this mid range. By that point, the opposition's probably come to meet you at mid board area, and then, like you said, in he comes, and you just drop an Alaris bomb in where they're not going to sit there and foul a charge basically, and then they come and make life. I mean, a non-fallible chargeable for pin Alaris bomb is disgusting.
It's expensive at 3 command points, mind.
Yeah, I know, but
if you're taking a big enough unit of them, I probably wouldn't deal with a unit of 3, but if you're taking 5 plus of them and do that, it's just going to mess things up, isn't it? Like that's 5 normal Terminators dropping in is bad enough. 5 Custodian turn.
So at 3 command points is quite expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Say if you've only got 1 Velixa in your army, and your whole structure is to teleport in a big unit of your dudes.
Mm-hmm.
You're playing Dark Elder.
Mm-hmm.
They've got that new stratagem. If you go with Cabal, get Vect. So that becomes a 4 command point use. Do you still use it?
No, because that only works after that stratagem's been used once already. You're not going to use this multiple times per game. This is for bringing in your big blob of.
And the thing is, even if I do sit there and drop that onto it, you just turn and say, okay, you've still got the option to sit there and deep strike them in normally. And then there's also I think there's another stratagem where you can do a 3d6 charge roll as well. I'm trying to sit there and scan
Yeah,
through to make sure I remember the names. So potentially you could turn around and say, all right, fair enough, you can vet that. I'll just deep strike them in normally if I don't want them in, and I'll just do a 3d6 dice roll, pick the highest two, and then also you can command re-roll that as well. So chances of that Alaris bomb failing, trust me, I've done it a few times in recent games. Chances of them failing, you've got to whiff quite badly 2 dice rolls, or like you said, you've got your Vexilla that's going to sit there and you can just drop them on top of it for 2 CP anyway. So or 3 CP anyway. So
with the Vexilla, I do like the command. We'll talk stratagems later, but plant the Vexilla. I really like that as well. If you really want to hold on to something, you just do that, and then your 6-inch becomes a 12-inch bubble, which is again quite nice. So, Dale, we haven't spoke to your elites. Let's go to your elites.
Actually, it's pretty dull, my elites, and this kind of plays into, for those who are paying attention, my list is very much in the vein of take and hold. This isn't a very offensive Custodes list. Frankly, it would be a nightmare to play against. I don't think it'd be much fun, but it would win consistently. So I've got 2 Vexillus Praetors, and both of them with Vexilla Magnificus, so -1 to hit. Very much following up with what you said, Karl. These are going to stake out. They're going to plant the Vexilla as well. Yep. Where appropriate, they're going to cover those Sagittarium Guard Custodians. So, not only have we got a 2-up save and a 4-up invuln, but they're -1 to hit as well. And if possible, we're going to try and get into cover. It's an obstructive way of playing. Frankly, as I said, it's not something you do to someone you liked, but if you wanted to win a game, that's what you do.
When we playing, Dale?
I don't own a Custodes army, so it's between you two, I'm afraid.
You can borrow mine, it's not a problem.
Just to throw out there, by the way, though, if going back to trying to how to deal with that Alaris bomb and everything else, and trying to do it clever with strats, don't need to. If you've got an army that's got any form of fly or jet bikes or anything at all, so if you were playing as Dark Elder, even if it's just taking a venom, moving up the board and charging it into them, it's not going to kill him, but he's not going to kill it back, and it stops him being able to move up the board. That would be the key there.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. Okay. So 2 solid choices, Dale. Our lists are solid.
Very boring.
Yes.
Very boring.
But I do think that is Custodes. I think they are a very boring army, but they're fun in a way. Does that make any sense? So, like, what they do, they just stand there and take it.
Well, foiled.
Matron.
And that's what they do. So
they're oiled up. They just stand there and take it, do they?
With the big E.
Yep.
But
moving swiftly on.
9th edition is take and hold. If you can take and hold very, very successfully, you're going to win most of your games. Very, very simple. Neil, tell us what you got in your elites.
So gone down a similar route. I've just got 1 Vexillus Praetor, and I've also with the Magnificus and a -1 to hit, and I've got 4 Alaris Custodians. So I not disagree with Dal, but I would say Dal said 5 or more to make it worth it. I found 3, like you said, they can be shot off. 4, I found is your minimum, to be honest with you, that you can drop in as an Alaris bomb. I do use them as an Alaris bomb, to be honest with you. They're my general turn 3 knock at the door. I will basically sort of just bring them in. They're not always the aggressive. Sometimes I've used them to sit there and drop through, because by turn 3, sometimes your opposition takes their sort of like their eye off the backfield objective, and they're screening for the backfield. So it's quite handy sometimes just to drop them in backfield, and then, like you said, ensure the charge into potentially what they've left on their backfield holding, just to smash them off. Sometimes it could be 5 fire warriors, and that is the biggest overkill you've ever seen in your life. 5 poor little fish heads getting charged down by 4 Alaris Custodians.
That's 5 Malta guns, mate, you've just killed.
Well, it's like you said. It's like I generally think they've got multiple use. My Alaris bomb that I do use them for, to be honest with you.
Okay.
It's just one of those things that the they'll sit there and use. Sorry, I'm just pausing. My things glitching. My phone's glitching for some reason on my face. I'm doing it all. They like I said, for that objective grabbing, for that target smashing, for something just to sit there and drop in and cause havoc within the enemy lines. Or I had it before with a Silent King when I was playing Necrons. He was flying around and he was being an absolute bane of my life. But he couldn't see my Vexillas. He was hid around the corner, line of sight blocking, had no way, and he was literally in midfield. And I looked at it, summed up the distances, and dropped an Alaris in and charged straight into the Silent King. It ties him up, and even the Alaris, don't get me wrong, it took 2 turns to try and chew through Silent King, because even in combat he's a monster. But the Alaris do start hurting him, and it's all of a sudden tied the Silent King up from just jumping around the board and just wiping off whatever target he felt like wiping off each turn, sort of thing. So yeah, I do think they're almost a counter punch and a sort of backfield ace in your hand, just to turn around and say, you know what I mean, I need that objective of him to stop him getting domination, or that unit there's been a pain in the backside to sit there and fly around. You know, if all of a sudden Mortarian's creating absolute havoc in your lines and he's jumping around all over the place, what can I do to drop him down in a turn or two to completely tie Morty up, and or give him a bit of a hard time, take some wounds off him, sort of thing. So I think they're generally really, really good at that. And the Vexillas to sit there in the Magnificat -1 to hit is really, really powerful. Really, really powerful in my eyes. It's the go-to and the one to take, just for the simple fact is that to have that level of -1 around you to sit there and for pin to hit is just, yeah, 6-inch bubble as well. Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple of units I'll talk about next. You could potentially, even if you're not charging them up backfield and you've got happily just to drop the Alaris in normally, to stick the Vexilla between a couple of units and have the -1 all of a sudden. That's, yeah, like Dal said, that stubbornness then to even hit them, let alone shift them off with invuln save, I think is, yeah, it's really, really strong.
Okay. Good. No, again, I don't think there's a bad unit at the moment in the Custodes army. I really don't. And I know you two have gone very Forge Worldy. I've gone very what you can buy in the shop, because I still think what you can buy in the shop can be very competitive in the game. And you know, we go into fast attack in a second. What was I going to say? I was going to say something very profound and really sort of insightful.
Oh, God.
Do you know, before we go on to fast attack then, do you think the changes in 9th edition rules, so for example the way detachments are structured, so it's done on points rather than the detachment, has made Custodes and their stratagems more useful?
Hugely. You know,
yeah,
they would have had far less command points than everyone else. Whereas now they've got amongst the most, because you can quite happily fit it all into a battalion or a patrol detachment.
Yeah, and this is the thing why I use patrol as well, because I do think they can be quite CP hungry. So to be able to sit there and utilise more CP each time, I think it's quite handy to have, to be honest with you. So yeah, I think it has helped them out quite a lot. I think it's the reason why you see so many Custodes lists at the moment out there and in armies, because I just think they're really, really strong at the moment. And like you said, they're more viable list options and list builds now, a lot more.
Because their stratagems are quite solid. They're not that over expensive. Now, back in 8th when I would play with my Custodes, I would oh my god, I played Ash down at the club, and I thought, you know, I'm going to take a Holy 32, so I took my Cadians to get the command points, and then I took, I'm sorry, 10 bikes or 9 bikes and a captain. And I didn't know what he was taking. He brought Slaanesh demons. All my bikes had hurricane bolters on it.
You had a good day then, yeah?
Yeah, and it wasn't fun for either of us. Now, I didn't know he was going to take his Slaanesh, but it didn't. I think I killed a greater demon, you know, the bitch with tits and the big swords, with hurricane bolters.
Yeah.
And it wasn't fun, but I had to take the guardsman to get command points to be able to do certain bits and pieces. But now you don't have to do that, do you? You can take, if you wanted to, you can take Custodes, and you have that command points, and you have that ability to use their really, really cool stratagems. Okay, shall we go on to fast attack?
Do it.
Yeah?
I mean, let's face it, we're all going to have exactly the same choice here. I very much doubt it's going to change, is it?
Is there more than one choice?
No.
If there is, I haven't really looked at them. I don't think there is, but
I looked into it.
Crap.
Yeah, is it the Fly Boys from Forge World?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think.
They're okay. The what they called Venatari.
Venatari, yeah.
There's also the other bikes as well, the Adeptus Custodians.
Yeah, which are wank.
Okay, so yeah, I think
there's. No. I was gonna say that's probably a bit harsh. Actually, they're not wank, are they? But yeah.
the Fly Boys, if you know the Wizard of Oz, fly my pretties, fly. It reminds me of them, or like Gordon, the
Flash
Eagle
Gordon.
Men, Flash Gordon, the Eagle Men from that. It reminds me of Gordon's alive. You expect one of their captains to say that.
Monkey. To be fair, wasn't there a list built around them, Venatari? There was like somebody sitting there and spammed like a huge amount of Venatari, and they were actually quite difficult to deal with because again, the amount of movement and maneuverability you had for a list, they were quite good. But that was probably someone a lot cleverer than us, to be honest with you, because I mean they're not great units, to be honest with you. I mean they're pretty crap, to be honest with you, but I mean you look at it, I mean they've got their strength 5, they've got a Tarsus buckler, so strength 6 in combat, -2, flat 1 damage. They've got 3 attacks each, and they've got a alright pistol. Their pistol's quite good, strength 6, -2, 2 damage, and the unmodified rolls of hit rolls of 6 to score an additional hit. And like you said, they can fly around, I suppose, movement obviously 12, but for me that's I'm not setting my world on fire, to be honest with you.
The flat 1 damage against a meta that's very 2 wound heavy,
2 woundish,
Space Marines, Death Guard, soon to be other Marine armies as well, Grey Knights and that sort of stuff. You need that 2 damage, I think, to be able to successfully deal with these armies. Which is why, going on to fast attack, I have chosen 2 units of Virtus Praetors. Did I get that right?
Yep.
This was the unit.
Can I blow your mind for a second?
Go on.
I've picked 1 unit of Virtus Praetors.
Oh, you're right, mate. How you feeling?
Well,
you're odd.
Yeah, exactly. So let's skip that. Neil, how many units have you picked?
2.
Brilliant. There we go. Well done,
there you go. That's fast attack done.
But I've gone with the salvo launcher on 1 unit and hurricane bolters on the other because I haven't got any anti-tank. Because that's the last of my army, boys. I'm done. After fast attack, I am done.
Boring.
I know. I don't. Like I said, I wanted to make the army.
Because you've wasted your points on other pointless bollocks and crap as usual, Carl.
Well. All the way throughout this podcast, you've actually said that's actually a good unit choice, Carl. That's a solid choice. How you two feeling right now after saying all that?
Mate, wait until we get to heavy support and we start talking about our land raiders. That's when you'll hear the good stuff.
Oh, God, if you generally say you've brought a land raider down, we might have to question our online relationship.
But no, I absolutely I love the models. I think so. When GW released the sort of the snigget of these models, I'm looking at the codex, and that was the picture they released, and I was like, I need an army of these. I don't care how much they cost. I need them. I've got 21 upstairs.
I agree. I think they've been fantastic models, fantastic on the stat sheet, fantastic in the game. They're absolutely incredible around, to be honest with you.
I didn't even care if they were shit in the game. I just loved the model. That was the thing for me. I was like, these guys are amazing. And then since then, my army's evolved quite massively to having all the other bits and pieces. But I just love the lance. When you charge it into combat, +1 strength, -3, D3 damage, and you can re-roll the wounds when you charge. That's good. I like it. And I think, Neil, you've used my bike list quite a few times against me, haven't you? And won every time.
Yeah, I have, to be honest with you. I mean, so in the tail end of this list, you'll see where the vast majority of my points have gone to be honest with you. But if I wasn't using potentially so much of what I'm going to talk about next, to be honest with you, no doubt it's definitely not a land raider.
It's two Land Raiders, isn't it?
It's two Land Raiders, yeah. I'd be packing out with more bikes. I generally love this unit. I think they're absolutely fantastic. Their movements, their stats, the characteristics, the way they get about, the way they hit, that re-roll all wounds on the charge and things like that. Their weapons.
Nasty.
Yeah, they're just absolutely not. And it's not just that; it's the fact that mine. I've equipped it all out with storm bolters,
Hurricane bolters.
Hurricane bolters. Sorry, that weight of shots. It doesn't matter who you are, what you're doing. I'm throwing a bucket of dice at you. I'm going to take wounds off you. No matter who you are, what you're going to do, you will roll ones. It's as simple as, and that is all wounds that are going to chip away from you just before I stick my stupidly long pike straight into your head. I only say stupidly long because they're bloody annoying to store in carry cases, and it also means they're annoying to hide behind scenery and things like that because they stick out like a dog's penis. But yeah, they're fantastic. I love them. I'm building my Custodes army at the moment, as Karl said, and I will probably end up having 12 to 15 bikes in there. I may not use them all in one go. I will try to use them all in one go. But yeah, they're just incredible units. Mine, just to cut in before Dale goes on to his, mine, the 2 squads, literally cut build, Hurricane bolters, like I said, and that's me job done, because I just think that's the way to run it. I can split the 2 squads up and fly them either side and flank them, or I can just keep them with a blob. And earlier on, like I said, my 2 HQ choices are 2 captains on Dawn Eagle, so it gives me 8 bikes that I can basically fly around either in a very, very nasty hammer that can hit in at a target, or if not, then I can split them all up and have 4 different very fast mobile units flying around the board, objective, grab it, or just time things out in combat or sort of things.
Have you ever thought about taking a unit of 6 and unleash the lions on them?
Yeah, and to be fair, I thought about doing it as well, because it just, if you do that, like you said, to have that level of manoeuvrability from 6, potentially with my captains, to be 8 different units, then to be able to fly all over the board, yeah, it's an absolute cluster fucking nightmare for people to try and deal with, to be honest with you. Especially, I think it's almost like a bit of a curveball when people are thinking, oh, this is how the game's going, this is how the game's going. Unleash the Lions, yeah, now I'm going to split 8 different bikes going here, there, everyone's going to go try and get for this one objective, that's going to tie them up, that's going to tie them up. It's a little bit of a nightmare sort of oddball for them to deal with, I think.
I'm going to jump in. Unleash the Lions is only on Alaris Terminators.
Oh, wasn't there a way to do it with the other guys?
No, Unleash the Lions is just on Alaris, so you can't even use it on the other Terminators, the Aquila. That's what makes them not as good.
Oh, do you imagine if you've just pissed on my chips there.
Sorry.
All right.
Thanks, Now for that, I'm going to edit my list and definitely put Land Raiders in it.
Absolutely. The good stratagem for them, by the way, for the bikes is swooping dive.
They've done it before.
You dive in your opponent's charge phase.
So we'll get to that in a second, because I got a story about that one stratagem at a club I used to play at. But we will get to that in a second. So we've agreed the best fast attack choice is the one we've all taken. Hooray! So I'm now done. My army is complete. Dale, heavy support?
So the first Land Raider... No Land Raiders. Once again, this is a very defensive list I've gone for. And you'll notice coming through that, frankly, the one thing that's really missing is any sort of anti-tank weaponry or kind of real heavy shooting. So I've got round that by taking 2 Telemon heavy dreadnoughts, because I'm just horrible like that one. Okay, so for those who don't know, 290 points each. I've given them both 2 Arachnus storm cannons, so real heavy weaponry on there. So we've got 2 different weapon options of either shooting at heavy 2, strength 8, AP -4, 3 damage apiece. And you can reroll the wound roll as well on that one, or heavy 6, 7, -2, and 1 damage apiece if I'm just trying to clear some infantry. Now they are super brutal to try and get rid of. They've got a 4-up invuln. Whereas I think the other dreadnoughts have only got a 5-up invuln. Is that right?
Yeah,
for Custodes?
Yeah.
So they've got 4-up invuln, and they've got Guardian Eternal, so you're taking 1 off every damage down to a minimum of 1. And you've got Unyielding Ancient on them. I've put on there. So
6 up, feel no pain.
6 up, feel no pain. Plus, if you stick that Vexilla Praetor all of a sudden between them with the -1 to hit as well, so you can have them as a backline gun line sat on your rear objective, shooting absolutely everything off the board while they're -1 to hit as well.
Absolutely, and because the Custodes Codex hasn't been redone, there is no such thing as core or non-core units, so they can have a captain sat next to them, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s.
Yep.
Nasty.
Absolutely disgusting.
Flipping
Once
nasty.
again,
for 290 points, they are potentially like, I think one of the flippings. Yeah, they're for savage. It wouldn't surprise me at some point if the Custodes released, they nerfed them slightly and raised the points.
So,
you know what? I'm going to go through my predictions for Custodes afterwards, actually, for like what's coming next.
Yeah.
But the damage potential of that unit, and it's just, I mean, they're even toughness 8. So even just to get the hit, you're -1. Just to get the wound for almost anything, nothing's going to be doing it on 2s. You're going to be having to get most things are on 4s, at best, to get through it.
So,
and then you've got the invuln, and then you've got the feel no pain. You're just not going to scratch them.
And then you're taking a wound off of each damage each time as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Neil,
Yeah.
do you want to just say what you've got as your heavy support choice? Because I've got a sneaky suspicion. Is it the same as Dale's?
Snapsies. Yeah, 100%. So I've gone exactly the same. 2 Telemons with Arachnus. Because for me, this completes my list. So it basically, like I said, I've got my 1 Custodian Guard Squad, which I said I can either troops around on a rear objective or do what I want with them. I've got my massive bikes, my 8 bikes, which I can fly off in different places and use them as hammers. And then I've got basically these 2 Telemons that could just basically sit back. So I've got my potential backfield sitting and gun line. And whereas Dale's gone more for the sit in and soak up and be a stubborn unit to list, I've countered that and I use more bikes and fast moving to go around the board and knock people off of objectives. But same sort of principle. But for me, the Telemons are near enough. Like I said, for list, I think they're the only way of including that mass anti-tank and getting them in. And at the same time, like Dal said, they're just so stubborn and horrible to try and get rid of 1, let alone 2 of them. It's just a nightmare. You're better off almost just ignoring them, to be honest.
And you can use that stratagem Wisdom of Ancients because it is a dreadnought.
I think you can. Let's look it up.
If it's got the dreadnought keyword, then most definitely.
And let's just double check it. But yeah, I don't think it'd be a problem. This is that problem because but because of the codex being written before all these extra units were added, it's just so skewed in terms of this sort of stuff.
Ironically, so I thought what I'll do is I'll have a quick look on the Forge World website to see how many of these Telemons cost and they're all sold out.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah, Adeptus Custodes Dreadnought. Now I don't need those rerolls because I've put my shield captain with them. But yeah, 1 CP. If he gets killed or something else happens to him, or if he's off supporting something else, 1 CP, get the rerolls.
Yeah, and they are 78 quid each. They're quite expensive if you want to buy them from Forge World, but they're all sold out. So that just says,
mate, you cannot put a price on tears. To collect your opponent's tears in that way, I will chuck money at Forge World.
Carl, can we name the podcast this week? You can't put a price on tears.
Definitely.
That's it, brilliant. You might as well just wrap up everything now. Brilliant, Neil. Thank you.
Yeah, peace out, mic drop, I'm off. But you can't, I mean, for me, these things, it's for me, like, if we ever get around to doing arena runs, I have my huge Raptors army. I have 2 Leviathan Dreads, and they're along the same sort of principle. I stick them back with 2 twin Storm Cannon arrays, and Leviathans as well. You stick a Tech Marine in between the 2 of them. It's just disgusting. They just won't die, and they just sit there pumping out flipping horrendous amounts of it. It's like 40 strength 7 -2 flat damage 2 shots. I mean, it just wipes squads and targets off the board.
Leviathans have had a massive nerf recently, though, aren't they? They're no longer Invuln 5. It's a 4. Toughness 8. They're Toughness 7.
Yeah, they have. They're not as punchy as they were, to be honest with you. And I think, to be honest with you, and they're more highly appointed than the Telemon, which probably brings you to a point when you look at the Telemon now, you think they've got to be an including to an army. I mean, me personally, I already own 1, and I'm in the process of, I'm going to have another one as well, to be honest with you. I think 2 Telemons for options, like I said, it'll be I'm looking forward to tasting your tears, very.
Look, I'm not afraid of them because, you know, I play 40k to have fun, and we all know Garcalda are about to become the most powerful OP army in the world.
Here we go. Here we go.
We all know
It's a matter of time.
We all know it. Okay, so that's our list, guys. What we're now going to quickly do is something a little bit different. Normally we'll talk about stratagems all the way throughout the podcast, and what I want you guys to do is pick out 2 stratagems that you really like using and why. So if I go first, because I'm going to steal the best one.
Yeah, I know you're going to. You're such a dick.
I really like Tanglefoot Grenade.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So use this stratagem at your opponent's movement or charge phase. Choose an enemy unit within 12 inches of the custode infantry unit from your army. Roll a d6. Your opponent must reduce that unit's movement characteristics or charge different distance from the result. Units with the fly keyword are not affected for 1 CP.
It's brilliant. He's saved, like I said, we were talking about it just before we came on. It has saved my arse a couple of times where I could have got potentially bounced and hammered, to be honest with you. And putting that on really screws people up. Really screws people up.
It's a lot of fun, especially when they say if your opponent needs a 10-inch charge to get into combat. You use that stratagem, they roll a 10, they think they're in, you roll a 2, they're not in.
Yeah, it's like I said, I think, to be honest with you, I think it's disgusting, to be honest with you.
For one, it's 1 CP, and it does upset people, and it's funny. It's so funny. I played a guy called Ben. He brought a load of Zangors, and he was going to charge this one unit of custode guards I had, and I did that, and they couldn't charge. And then I moved, shot, and charged him next turn and wiped him out. And the look on his face was like, "Oh, cheers, Carl. You're welcome, Ben." And I think he went to the LV Open with that same list. Bless his cotton little socks. So the other one I want to talk about is Stooping Dive.
Right. Okay.
It's expensive, 3 command points. But basically, you use this stratagem at the end of your opponent's charge phase. Choose a custode biker unit from your army that is within 12. Shut up, Bruno. Bellend dog. Of an enemy unit. You can declare a charge with that unit as if it was your charge phase. If the unit charge is successful, that unit fights before all other units in the fight phase, even before charging units. If your opponent has any units with similar abilities, you take turns. Blah blah. Excuse me. Blah 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 blah. Now, I used to play at this very competitive club in Gloucester. Neil, you know of it. Dale, you know of it. Very competitive. And I was playing. I brought my bike list. It was a doubles game, 1,000 points each. So I brought 10 bikes. And my opponent charged a demon prince into my shield captain, thinking he was a bad boy. I then stooped and dived and took out the demon prince before it could attack. And then it was a brilliant moment. You know, one of those moments you think,
I mean, why is he charging a demon prince into your bikes anyway? He's going to die. You know what I mean? What's he going to achieve out of it? Potentially kill a bike? I don't really understand what he was doing there, to be honest with you. I mean, that probably wasn't his cleverest, brightest moment, but
he was being a hero, Neil, and heroes die in the movies.
Yeah, I was going to say, but hey, we know what people down that club were like generally. They thought they were competitive, but they weren't the brightest of times. No, I think I agree. I think it's a great strat, to be honest with you. I think it's got great teeth on it as well. Before I say anything else, I think Custodes, for such a small book, have got some really punchy little stratagems. Some really punchy little stratagems. I think if I collect Grey Knights, I like being punished, and they're like literally like the ginger step kid. Yeah, literally like the ginger step kid of GW. They're just, there you go, Grey Knights. You have a nice new codex. You look good for about 5.5 minutes, and then I'm going to nerf bat the shit out of you.
I'm going to nerf your smite. I'm going to nerf your fucking smite, Grey Knights.
Yeah, Psychers of the Imperium, and they've got the worst psychic powers on them. But anyway, they only got damage 1 smite unless you have to change one of your tides. Yeah, brilliant. Thanks for that. But yeah, moving it off. If they could change the Grey Knights codex to even run slightly like the Custodes does. So again, it's a small army. There's not much Grey Knights. Again, the codex is always quite small. But if I were to give them the punchiness level that the Custodes have in the strats, I'd be really happy, because these guys have got some really, really punchy little numbers in their strats. And it's not just that, it's the way it runs and flows with their army type as well.
Yep.
It really works with their units. It's almost like GW actually thought about the Custodes, whereas with Grey Knights, they sort of turn around and went, oh no, I'm going to have a shit in my hand and clap and see what comes out of it, really.
Dale, are you there?
I'm here. I'm waiting for my turn.
Dale, it is now your turn, sir.
If you steal the one I'm actually going to come in with, Dale, I'm really going to be angry with you.
No, you go first, man.
No, I can't do that to you. That's a bit rude.
Oh, all right, fine. So my first one, okay, is the one I've already mentioned. It is the Emperor's Hand. So it's the one that goes with my shield host, the Emissary's Imperatus.
Mm-hmm.
So with this one, pick a unit that's shooting or fighting. You can use it for, and the rest of that phase, they won't be affected by any negative hit roll, wound roll, or armor penetration characteristic modifiers, and any benefit of saving throw as a result of cover is also ignored as well. So just horrible. I also realised actually you could give that to the dreadnought, just to make things even nastier, rather than giving it to the it's just disgusting, to be honest. But you know what? Whatever. Okay.
I like it, Dale.
Also, I'm just going to lean on this one. It's one I hadn't really thought of, but I was kind of reading up on it while we were going through. It's just to help buff land raid. No. So it's the indomitable engine strat. So use this stratagem at any phase when an Adeptus Custodes vehicle, so the two dreadnoughts, for your army would lose a wound as a result of a mortal wound. Roll a d6 on a 5+. That wound is not lost. In addition, until the end of that phase, when this model would lose a wound as a result of mortal wound, roll 1d6 on a 5+. This wound is not lost. To me, this really kills. You know those. Psychic heavy armies, but also anything that if you've got Wrath of Mars being used against you and shooting a dreadnought, bang, there you go. Literally a third of all of their mortal wounds are negated for the cost of 1 CP.
It's nice.
So if you're playing against AdMech in particular, I think that would actually be a very powerful one.
And I mean, if you're playing against AdMech, they're going to bring robots, and you know they're going to use Wrath of Mars.
Absolutely. I mean, literally, it's the entire playbook of them. So
yeah, that's all they got. JD, did you hear that? That's all you got. Neil, talk to me. What 2 strats have you chosen, sir?
Right, this first one is. I've been so excited to say this because it's such a prickish one. From golden light they come. So, it's brilliant. It's 1 CP. Yeah, for 1 CP for 1 unit or 3 CP. So basically, use this stratagem during deployment. Instead of placing them on the battlefield, you can set up 1 Adeptus Custodes infantry, biker, or dreadnought unit from your army in Godstrike pattern teleportarium array for 1 CP, or 2 such units for 3 CPs. At the end of any movement phases, these units can teleport into battle. Set them anywhere on the battlefield. It's nice. You can deep strike your Telemon dreadnoughts.
I missed that bit. I thought that was only for infantry and bikers.
It's got dreadnought keywords.
And then they've not get previously when this was written in 8th, you'd have had the -1 to shoot the heavy weapons because they technically move when they appear. They've not even got that anymore, so they can turn up from turn. I mean, even if they turn up in turn 1 and just in your deployment zone, and they've just alpha strike, even if you've got turn 2.
Hey, it's clever because say if your opponent's got a blob of eradicators, and you know they're going to want to try and kill your Telemons, go, I'm just going to put them in deep strike for 3 CP, and then after they fired, I'm going to bring them in my turn and fuck your shit up better than you fuck my shit up. It's beautiful.
This stratagem is generally it's rats. Like I've seen it played. Like you can obviously it's okay when you know you're coming up to play a person. You've organised a game down your local club. If you're bringing the list I brought, you probably should have warned your opponent off. You're going to bring a bit of a dickish list that's going to be quite hardcore. Obviously, you're not just going to turn up unless you're someone you look at and think, hey, do you know what? I'm going to enjoy again collecting your tears and watching you roll around on the floor, screaming and kicking like a baby. But this is one where if you're in a tournament and you don't know who your next opposition is going to be, and you could get any wide variety whatsoever of an opponent drawn against you, and you all of a sudden you look at the army in front of you and think, crap, how am I going to counter that? This gives you real punch. Because they know you've got this stratagem to be able to turn around and say, sod it, I've burnt, and I'm rolling a patrol detachment, so I've only spending 2 CP. With relics bits beforehand, it's 4 CP. So I'll quite happily lose 3 CP if it means that I'm going to sit there and bang down 2 Telemon and give them a real bad headache. You know what I mean? In my second turn. As well, it can also keep them. If I know that potentially Eradicators, we know how good they are at deleting things. If I'm playing a Raven Guard army, where obviously turn 0, they can shunt Eradicators up the board and potentially flipping drop them 9 inches away from you and delete a Telemon straight away. I can look at a Raven Guard army. I know this because I'm a Raptors player, and I give it, hey, I'm not even going to give you the chance to do that. I'm going to bang my 2 Telemon in reserves, and I'll bring them down turn 2, and I'll bring them down somewhere where you really don't want them to come down, and then I'll start pulverizing things from there as well.
Neil,
it's
Are you trying to say Raptors are shit against Custodes?
Raptors are never shit, mate. Get a grip. My tournament army, mate, for Raptors is just, we'll talk about that another time. It's just an absolute filth. I have to wash myself in bleach in the shower. I've made myself feel that dirty and violated each time I get them out of the case. It's not a nice list. But yeah, I just think this stratagem is just disgusting, to be honest with you. And my last one is Fraternity of Heroes. Use this stratagem at the end of your opponent's charge phase. Select one Adeptus Custodes unit from your army more than 1 inch away from enemy models. That unit can immediately perform a heroic intervention as if it were a character, but must finish that move within 1 inch of one or more enemy units. This is actually a really, really, again, punchy task. Really punchy CP for me to use. For my Praetors, my bike's flying around. I generally seem to try and fly them around together. So I've got 2 squads of 3 flying around. If you charge one of them, guess what? The other one's coming in to join you in combat as well. Do you really want to jump in one bike squad against one Custodes bike squad? Yeah, it's difficult to deal with, knowing that all of a sudden you could charge it and all of a sudden you're going to sit there and have 2 to deal with in combat, having a pop at you afterwards. It's not nice, you know what I mean? No one likes 6 Virtus Praetors basically in your face, potentially flipping, poking their big long fire sticks at you.
Yep. Finger in the bum time.
Yeah, exactly. So they're my 2, to be honest with you. But I think they're both generally good ones to pull out for potential, like I said, one, obviously in your charge phases or any opposition charge phases, to sit there and give you a bit of support in case all of a sudden they've been clever, screened things and charged one of your units and you get caught out. And the one with the Telemons is just obnoxious, to be honest with you. It's just a real way to sort of say, hey, I'm just going to jump an overly huge robot around the board.
From Golden Light they come. It's a really stupid oversight by GW. Stupid if you're not playing Custodes, great if you're playing with them. Because to be able to put a Dreadnought into Deep Strike for 1 command point or 3 command points for 2, especially those Talons, they're really, really nasty. Do you think they've forgotten about this stratagem at GWHQ?
Can I tell you what I think it is?
Go on.
Alright, this is straight up. This is going to get nerfed into the ground. And I looked through the majority of this book, and this is my prediction. We'll come back to this. Maybe we set a reminder for in a year's time, whenever their codex comes out, they are going to get nerfed hard on their stratagems. Because so many of them just do not take into account all those units that were added in terms of Forge World units in the Psychic Awakening. The book was never updated. They never FAQ'd it. Whether that was an oversight or not, I don't think so. And it's made them so strong, so powerful in ninth that it's just, there's no way on earth they're going to let it carry on like that. I don't think the nerfs are going to come on the troop choices. I think it will be the dreadnoughts. I think it will be the heavy, the flyers, etc. I just think it's going to get absolutely battered.
I can see, but I agree. I think the Telemons will definitely get hit with a nerf back to a certain degree because, I mean, if for their points, I mean, like you said, they're just ridiculous. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I think the dreadnought of choice at the moment is probably the Redemptor Dread. It's pretty classy for the points it's got.
Contemptor.
Yeah, Contemptor's up there. I mean, to be fair, all Dreads at the moment
Yep.
are doing pretty good place. I'd say all Dreadnoughts are in a good place in 9th edition. But by the Leviathan, but I think that's again because Iron Hands probably just really abused the Leviathan.
They
To be
ruined
honest
it
with
for
you,
everybody else, the
yeah,
wankers.
yeah. I think to be honest with you, Iron Hand players go outside and headbutt a wall multiple times. No, don't do that. That's
Take
probably
your head
not
for a
good.
shit.
Yeah. Take a shit, put it in your mouth, swallow it, and that's how we all feel now because you've ruined my Leviathans. I brought 2 of them, you wankers. It was expensive. Yeah, but I generally think Telemons might go down the same route a little bit. I really hope they don't because I'm going to still have 2 of them because I just think for APOC games and other games that you don't really care as much about points being effective, I just think they're fantastic. I think they're great models. They look cool, even with their weird sort of bulbousy 1970s shoulder pad that they've got, but they're really, really cool. Great weapons, and yeah.
What you said there, APOC game, we should do a Custode versus APOC game. 20,000 points, we'll have like 100 models.
What?
I mean, it'll be the only game we've ever actually finished as an APOC game, I think.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, APOC games never get finished, though, don't it? It's sort of rule of thumb, isn't it?
It's not really what they're for, is it?
No, it's the beer.
No. Yeah, exactly. And you will see this on the upcoming battle reports when the world goes back to normal.
Yes,
Beer Hammer.
yeah, Beer Hammer is coming. But yeah, no, we spoke about it briefly. I do love Custodes. I love that they're easy to fucking paint. Yeah, there's a spray can for that. And do you know what? The models are really, really cool and pretty. And the set for the top knots because they break off in the cases like you would not believe. And I think you guys are right. I think we are going to see some nerfs to stratagems in the new codex. I think we'll see a nerf to some of the Forge World units because none of us took their tanks. But I know Damo's got a couple of their tanks down at the club.
I mean, I used to be the Caladius tanks used to be a pretty high spam list to sit there and hit out, and I think they're flipping quite good. But again, I think they got hit a little bit, didn't they? With their points wise, they got increased by quite a considerable amount, didn't they?
Yep. But I think if you look at this codex and you just want to, you've got a few armies in your list in your sort of at home or whatever, and you think I'm going to try a new army. I think Custodes right now are a really good army to get into. It's relatively cheap actually to buy a Custode 2,000 point army. I just worked it out.
It's 6 models, mate.
I've got 28 models in a 2,000 point list. 28 models. Which is a ridiculously small amount of models, but when you look at a box, it's like 35 quid, and it won't cost you a lot, probably 250 quid to get into Custodes. That's relatively cheap for a good army to play. Even the stuff in the codexes, there's nothing in there that you think, even honourable mentions. We mentioned Contemptor Dreadnoughts earlier, and Wardens, Custodian Wardens are quite good as well. There's nothing really shit in 9th in this codex, is there?
No, I mean, yeah, the other dreadnoughts like the Galatus and the Achilles, they're really, really, really strong units. To be honest with you, I've used those in battles before as well, and they're fantastic. All their dreadnoughts for pretty much the whole Custodes army are pretty class, to be honest with you. I don't, in general, to be honest with you, Custodes are probably one of the few armies that you do look at, and there's 1 or 2 chaff choices, whereas in a lot of armies at the moment, there's their 1 or 2 good unit choices that they go to, whereas you could pretty much field most, even a sort of mediocre-ish looking Custodes army, and it'd have teeth on the board because they're that strong, I think, at the moment. Yeah,
we were taking the piss out of the Land Raider throughout this entire podcast.
Yeah.
And, if you look at the Land Raider, it's a vulnerable Land Raider. So it's got a Ballistic Skill of 2. Obviously, Power of the Machine Spirit doesn't exist anymore. Boo. It's got a Feel No Pain of 6 up. It's got all the sort of Hunter Killer, Stormbolter, Heavy Bolter, las cannons. But what lets it down as a model is that it's not that bad. 283 points.
Painted in gold.
Yeah, it's a Land Raider. So it's actually not a bad unit. It's just a gold painted Land Raider. That's
At 283 points, you could have got a Telemann.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing, isn't it? I think so.
Telemon will be a lot difficult to shift, and the two weapons that it's walking around, the two Arachnus guns that it's going around with its weapon skill and the way it hits, I'd rather have the Telemon, thanks. Then I can deep strike a Telemon as well. I can't deep strike the Land Raider.
No. But out of this entire book, and we're clutching at straws here, that's not as good as what it could be, because you can get something else better for the points cost.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So actually, it's not a bad codex. It'd be interesting to see what they do with the 9th edition codex, because that would be Custodes' second codex, wouldn't it? Because they only had one, and that'd be their second. It'd be interesting to see how that army evolves. It is top tier at the moment. I wouldn't recommend it to somebody who's just starting out in 40k. Just because of how complex it can be with the HQ and the warlord traits and the relics.
I think more than anything else with that as well is that people who just start out at 40k is quite depressing and quite demoralising when you're putting down sort of like 12 models and all of a sudden your opponent in front of you is laying down a flipping huge old army. Unless you know how to utilise those small elite armies are absolutely fantastic on the board, but I generally think it's when you know how to use, and I use small elite armies like you heard. I've got Raptors Marines, I've got Grey Knights, I like my small punchy armies. If you know how to use a small elite army, they're absolutely fantastic. If you don't and you go chucking them in stupid places, you don't know how to utilise those armies and units and stratagems to the most effect. Each time you lose a unit or lose models, it really, really hurts you, and that could be quite demoralising, to be honest with you. Whereas a more generic Marine list or other armies where you get a little bit more bang for your buck and models on the table, then I think that's probably a little bit better for you, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Custodes putting just 10 models on the board and then watching your opponent lay down like pin 70 is a bit like, well, crap, this is bad.
I think the one thing they're really missing is they're not particularly flexible. You need to go in with a plan, a very clear plan of how you're going to play that game, and not allow yourself to be shifted off it. And if your opponent plays how you think they're going to, brilliant, you're probably going to win. But if they do anything unexpected, you just, because of your, except for the bike, it's pretty low movement. You're just not really in a position to move around very much. So, that's why my list, I've got a goal there, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. If I don't get onto those objectives first, I'm going to struggle to clear people off of them because there's just not quite enough offensive capability there. Those are going to be the problems you have, and it's why actually, I'd agree. I think as a starter army, it's deceptive. It's a low model count. It's going to make it easier. It doesn't. Can't adapt very well.
You need that experience, don't you, how to play it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the reason why they've been merged a lot recently. Like I said, with Sisters of Battle and things like that, something that can be merged with them that's got a lot lower mod sort of points cost, and you can get access to normal Imperial weapons like multi-melters, things like that, and you can put something in that's a little bit cheaper and sort of still hits hard and smashes things up. I think that's why it's probably look, I mean, we haven't really covered Sisters of Silence to put in with them as well at the same time, but I think potentially merging them with other bits and pieces gives them even more legs and that adaptability, to be honest with you. Like Dal said, they're a little bit rigid. Don't get me wrong, they're also an absolute stubborn pain in the arse to shift off of things. So once you do get on objectives, they've got to really just concentrate in certain areas on how they're going to shift you, sort of thing. But
But if you need to adapt, as you well know, Neil, all plans escape the enemy. They fed against the enemy. If somebody comes out with you're slow and stodgy, and then you play against Harlequins, they're going to pistol whip you off the board, aren't they, with their fusion pistols?
Not just that Haywire, mate. Haywire with fucking Harlequins is an absolute nightmare as well. So just as well you didn't bring that Land Raider because it wouldn't last very long.
No, or your Telemans even. So
I've got a really good knack and knifing out Telemons, to be honest with you. But like I said, that's where potentially you do look at it and say, well, maybe if I know I'm coming up against them, I make sure I leave a squad of my bikes near my Telemonsters, because we all know with Harlequins, Stormbolter file rips through them like no man's business. I was going to say, it's literally, you just bring light amount, and they might have that invuln, but weight of shots will just tear Harlequins apart.
It's the one wound that affects Harlequins. The invuln's solid. If they had two wounds, if all of a sudden Harlequin troops had 2 wounds, you'd be like, oh, for fuck's sake.
I don't even think that. I think if they had normal normal save. So if they were 2 up, 4 up, and 2 wounds, then yeah, Harlequins are the most dangerous army on the fucking game, without a shadow of a doubt. The fact that they're just toughness 3 and they've got just a 4 up invuln on everything, yeah, that might be a 4 up invuln. But like I said, when I've got 2 squads of Virtus Praetors wiping out 72 bolt gun shots at you, you're having a bad day in the office, mate.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Any infantry unit is going to get upset by that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not gonna go well for you. So, but yeah, like I said, I think I'm hoping Custodes. Obviously, I'm building a Custodes army, so I hope they don't. I mean, I'm building them because I love the look of them. I think they're absolutely class. I'll hopefully potentially get a few pictures of mine up on the group potentially once they are done. Once I've had a chat with Matt Lovelace. Big shout out Matthew. Once he already knows they're coming his way at some point, and I will be going for a slightly different count on them. They'll be going for a different colour scheme to make them stand out. But
white, you gonna go white?
No, I'm not. So I'm going for like a silver, purple, and black. Okay. Yeah, silver, purple, and black sort of paint scheme. Yeah, it makes them look a little bit of like the Emperor's D boys. Yeah, yeah.
They're like the big D.
Going back to the beginning, make sure you get plenty of known oil on them. I think that's the time to finish.
Yes.
Okay,
and
guys.
on that note,
absolutely, thank you for listening. If you've listened to it the whole way through, again, please like and subscribe to the channel. Me, Neil, and Dale will be doing more of these competitive podcasts. We enjoy doing them, and people actually enjoy listening to them, which is really, really fantastic. Please, in the comments below, let us know what you think and what you've done with your Custode army, or what you plan to do with them, and we will actually answer as well. We're one of those channels that actually answers what questions and what have you have. So yeah, absolutely fantastic. Thank you for listening to Alex Tabletop Gaming, a competitive podcast, and we'll speak to you all soon. Thank you. Bye bye.